about this love, about this, about this love, about this love. Love. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. You are tuning into About This Love podcast with myself, Dale Skinner, and my wife, Charel. Say what's up to the peoples.
What's up, peoples?
As always, you can follow us on YouTube, AudioMac, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also probably stream a lot of our podcasts on those platforms as well. I pray you guys had a good week. Today's topic is actually stemming from a conversation that I had with a good friend of mine, and I was asking my wife about it. We were having a conversation about being a good husband, a good father, and or, if you're a woman, being a good wife or mother, coming from an environment that didn't really show you that kind of reality. So if you're coming from a background where people sold drugs or women, use their bodies to make money to feed, their children or whatever, is it realistic to expect someone like that, or to expect someone who is a product of that environment to be a good husband or a good mother, or to even know what that even looks like as it relates to being a family woman and or man, and knowing how to work or keep a productive job in society? And I know some will probably hear this and disagree and say, no, you can definitely be a good mother, father, a good person of society coming from that background. And I know some would say, well, no, you can't, because it didn't really afford you the opportunity. I would probably agree both, but my argument would be probably that the latter would probably be which one it is, because it's just very difficult coming from a specific background and a specific environment to know how to be a good spouse or a good father or a good, whatever you want to put good in front of. But one of the things that came up in the conversation today was that my friend of mine, he was just saying how, giving all the obstacles that he had accomplished in his life, people were still telling him that he was, he was up to no good and hadn't really amount to anything. And I said, well, I beg to differ. Given the environment that you coming from an abusive household where your stepfather, was very abusive to your mother, being that you spent, 13 years of your life, of your teenage life, going into most of your adult life, well, a lot of your adult life behind bars, and then coming out and getting a job as getting a job that a very good job at that, regardless of what people say, you really did beat the odds, So we should intake on that, babe.
On which part? The background or the...
all of it.
Well, for one, it's almost like when you're talking about someone being prepared to be a spouse or a good father, it's almost like you can't necessarily fault people. I feel like I've been in situations where I've gone into, I don't know, like a guy that I was dating, I've gone to meet like their family and, meet the parents. And it was almost like, okay, well, who is this chick? I don't know her parents. I don't know her mother and father. Does she, like as if I was someone who just like came up off the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling, because it was almost like, yeah, they don't know me. They're very skeptical because this is their child. And, now that I am a mother, a wife, it's almost like I would be skeptical if my son or daughter had brought someone home and I'm just like, who this person? And you say they got what going on? Like, it's not that you have the fear, but you just kind of worry, because it's almost like this is the person that you're going to spend your life with, and
attempt to spend your life with.
Well, yeah, attempt to, and it's going to be hard. And not that it's not going to be hard because the background was better, because everyone has things that they deal with, but it's hard because there's challenges and difficulties that we all go through. There's like, we all come from different walks of life, and the Lord has put us on this earth to walk out different things in our lifetime. And so whether or not you come from a 2-parent household where the mother and father were hardworking, were loving, or whether or not you didn't come from that type of household, it's not as though that you could not be successful. But remember when we were in counseling, it was told to us that we're not starting this race at the starting line. We're starting behind the starting line, and then we have to get to the starting line and then begin the race. So it's almost like we got to go back and break up our foundation just to even like rebuild our foundation. And the beautiful thing is that we are doing that together in our marriage. And it's also very difficult and it's daunting, but the Lord has brought us together. So do I believe that people who are married or are seeking to be married, seeking to have healthy relationships, but they come from this awful background or this
broken background of that.
Yeah, broken background. Do I believe that they don't have a chance at having a successful, healthy relationship? I do believe that they do. I think that's a lie that they cannot. But it's like you got to be able to know that, like, for you, the person who is coming from that broken background, you got to be able to know that you're starting at a disadvantage.
I was more so like wanting you to, getting your opinion on as far as is people's perspective of them. Is it fair coming from that background? It's like knowing the background that somebody came from. Is it fair to equate them as someone who might have came from a background where mom and dad made, let's say, $100,000 a year, and they went to the good schools, had a healthy in-home life? That's what I mean. Like, is it fair to evaluate them or to say, well, you should do better or you're no good? It's like, well, given the background that I came from, I'm actually doing hella good. You know what I'm saying? Considering where I came from. That was more so what I was speaking of.
Here's the thing. It's as if you're writing down someone's qualities or like their way of life on a paper and and saying, here, this is your choices. This is your option. And I get what you're saying. For your friend that you mentioned, it's almost like it's kind of jacked up that someone would see you trying and see, you're such a hardworking person. You're somebody who's trying to like build your way up. And it just seemed like at every turn, they're like throwing your past at you as if it was 100% your fault. But it's like, I mean, I'm a kid who's grown up in this terrible background. And I mean, I'm still just trying to like get on my 2 feet. But now I'm an adult. I'm a grown man with kids of my own, with a family of my own, and I still can't get on my 2 feet. And, the cycle continues to perpetuate itself with, that person's children and their children. And, the prayer is to break that cycle. But I don't think it's fair. But at the same time, you act as though or you're saying it as though people actually care about your background. Because, there's people who, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Because I was thinking like society actually doesn't evaluate people or look at them from a perspective. I think that's righteous. What I mean is like oftentimes, women will get with guys and have babies by these men, or what I call them boys or males, and then get upset when they don't take care of the child or they're not a good father figure. And it's like, well, what did you really expect? So, and I'm not saying that as a defense for the male, but I'm saying, like, just to be practical, what did you expect from a young man or a young boy or a young male who came from a background who father probably was in prison or probably was killed at an early age or just wasn't raised in a single family? Just his mother was the one who working and taking care of him and his siblings. What did you really expect? Like, you expect someone who's never seen a father, never even understood what the word father meant to be a father. It's kind of like, would you expect somebody who's never taken calculus before to go in college and pass a calculus test? No, you actually wouldn't. That would actually be insane to actually think that they would even compete with those who are skilled in the mathematics of calculus, to even be able to compete with them. That's foolishness.
Well, hold on.
So what I'm saying is when society looks at these young men who are out having children with women and not taking care of them, not understanding that they don't know how to be a father, what did you actually expect to happen? Like, what did you actually expect to happen?
Well,
seriously.
No, seriously. So here's what came to mind, because I actually have a family member whose mother died at a very young age, and they were a family of, I believe, 7 or 10. And I'll say this, it was my grandmother, and I want to put that out there because I admire her so much for her 50 plus years of marriage, coming from that type of background, who someone who has lost their mother at a young age. I sit down with her oftentimes, even before I had marriage on my heart. I would sit down with her and ask her, like, wow, grandma, like, you're a mom and a wife, like, how did you know? Like, how do you just know how to do these things? Or how did you learn how to do this and that? So no, she might not be the best cook in the world. Like my grandfather definitely, he can season something a little bit better, but her family's still surviving and, living on. But she, like, I would ask her, like, how'd you learn how to do this? Or would you pick up, like, your cleaning habits, or how'd you come up? And she would tell me she learned how to be a wife and a mother from television. And so you're thinking this is like back in the day in like the 60s and probably 50s and 60s, where she's watching these housewives. And so she then formed an image of what she should be like. Because I think what society does is they have the misconception that because you're a man who has come from, or a woman who has come from a terrible background, you should not have the desire to have children or have the desire to be a family. And I think what happens is that
I think that's true.
I think it's true to a certain extent. No, I think it is, because if you've ever been to court for like child support or custody, it's almost like, you're in front of a judge who don't care about your circumstance. They have no qualms about what you've been through, what you've gone through to even get up to that point, and how.
I mean, they don't really know you. So I mean, that's
all
that is irrelevant.
It is irrelevant, but then you don't know me. It's irrelevant, but then yet all of these men and women are finding themselves in court making lifetime decisions about their family. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a judge who doesn't know me is judging for my small children who could possibly be raised by this broken person who don't even care about their kids. Like, there was a celebrity, I don't know if like she's really a celebrity, a reality star. What is her daggone name? What's her name? This was in like the gossip blogs or whatever, but there was a celebrity who was kind of going back and forth with custody with her ex-boyfriend who was a singer. And so basically she lost custody over her two children. This was played out publicly. And so the sad part about it was, it's like, okay, it almost seemed as though she willingly gave up her children because she wanted a career. But then when you kind of look back, because she's a reality star, you kind of look back and it's kind of like, well, I mean, she was willing to be a family with this man. And I don't know like the ins and outs of their relationship behind the scenes, obviously. But from what was displayed to me, it just kind of felt as though she was okay with having the judge decide for her two small children to be with the father. And it's like, if you were okay with the judge deciding for your children to go and be with the father, why couldn't you guys have decided that outside of court? This is a family matter, but it's like people don't know how to be a family. Like they don't know how to talk out these family matters with one another as husband and wife, as girlfriend, boyfriend who have had children together.
A few things come to my mind, but I don't want to get off topic, but I will say this briefly. One of the things that came to my mind when you was talking about the young lady is that maybe she didn't really care about her kids. I thought about that. Maybe she didn't really care about her kids and she didn't really want her kids. So let me go to court and lose them legally. So whenever the option comes up for me to get them, I can always say, well, would a judge say I can't get them? Again, assuming that she actually cared for her children and it didn't value her she probably value her own career above her own children. Just thinking about just how society, just how they unfairly view people. Even I'll go a step further. What does it say to the person who, and even us, like what does it say about us that we are willing to sit down and sleep with a person and have children with them without even considering their background or without even considering if she is a good mother, if he is a good father. If it's like okay, so we can judge the person who had the children and walked away, whether it's the man or the woman, but yet we don't judge the person that had the children with him. I think both is pretty unfair, because I think in most cases it's just children coming from a situation of lust or passion and not love. Two people sitting down, sleeping together, and you horny, she horny, he horny, whatever. You get together, have a kid. 9 months later, somebody rolls out. You know what I'm saying? So I think that just in its entirety, that not really thinking about it in its totality before you have a moment of passion.
But you're saying that as if, it's kind of crazy, because you're saying that as if they know to even think about that. Ain't nobody thinking about that. Even when they're sober. No. Even when they're off of their like their emotions and their lust and their their desires, you're not sitting there thinking, you know what, I might be pregnant. Is he a good father?
So can I ask you a question?
Like,
so okay. So
Okay.
if I stick this knife, in your chest, are you thinking about the damage it's going to do?
That's a little bit different.
I mean, it is.
That's
but
that's a little bit different.
Well, the point is this: the knife into your chest it's like an immediate like danger immediately. But
I don't know if I'm
a kid, but with
No.
you sleep with somebody and having them on a passion, that's like 9 months to however long it takes to have a kid. That's when that really becomes reality. That's when it really hits.
Pause, Dale. Can we pause right there? You don't know how long it takes to have a kid. We just had a baby.
I mean, I said longer. I mean, it could sometimes be longer.
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't. Yeah.
Baby could be early. Baby could be late.
Okay, that's fine. I'll give you that. But Dale, like, you're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. So you talk about society, but that right there, that's the mindset. You're doing the same thing. I would disagree because you're saying the same thing society is saying. Like when I was working in the shop.
I'm not.
I mean, no, not that you're judging, but I'm saying that same mindset. So listen, when I was working in the shop, women would come in all the time from their various jobs or backgrounds. And it was one lady in particular, and she worked with, struggling mothers. And so she would say to me, she's like, yeah, I'm trying to help these single moms get on their feet. Now, one baby, that's okay. But 2 babies or more, no, you need to get your life together. Like, I can't help you if you're a single mom with 2 and 3 babies. And I would sit there, like, I'm sitting there listening to her and I'm just like, wow, like, you don't know the situation. Like, for example, someone in your family has multiple children and the husband rolled out. Now, that doesn't make it, I don't know the ins and outs of why they rolled out, but the husband rolled out. Now, if that person in your family went to that woman and she was to see, like, she got multiple babies.
Probably be a little bit more, probably she would show me a little bit empathy because of
maybe
the situation.
not. Maybe not. I mean, you would hope that she is, but maybe not. But here's the thing, like, how do you determine when it's supposed to check in for the person? Like, when it's supposed to like flip the switch, like, that aha moment, like, oh man, you know what? This person might not be a good fit for me,
I mean, to be honest, I don't think it does. I mean, I don't think it does. I don't think it does. And I said it because I think about the mind of a child, and I'm not saying that these people are childish.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess in some aspects they are because it's very irresponsible to have a child and not really consider the full totality. It's funny because there's a scripture. I want to say in Mark, where Jesus says, I'll paraphrase. I don't really remember the exact scripture, but he talks about how a man wants to build a house. But would he first consider the cost of building the house? And he says, well, let's say the man goes ahead and builds the house, but he doesn't have enough money or enough resources to finish building the house. He said, want those who see him ridicule him and judge him for that. And basically, what he's saying is, in the big picture is, whenever you're gonna do something, understanding and making sure you're able to see the totality of the situation. Now, I know that things can come up that you really can't see or didn't factor in, but I'm saying as it relates to just being able to see the full picture or at least understanding the full picture. Like, hey, right now, if I have 2 kids or 3 kids, I'm gonna probably struggle for the rest of my life unless someone, a man or a woman marries me and, it helps me with that, that's just the reality. But it really wasn't having kids, but it was more so society judging people who come from a background of being disadvantaged. That was more so, what I was saying is, just, I guess, just the way we view people who come from a background are and have been disadvantaged, and we see that they're trying and they're actually making an effort, but because of their background, there will somewhat always be a hindrance, somewhat. In most cases, there won't, because I know, like I said from the beginning, you'll have people who will disagree, like, no, well, I came from nothing, and I made, well, yeah, but you are the small percentage. Just like how many people actually married their high school sweetheart. Yeah, it happens, but it's a very small number.
Yeah, you said that.
It is. I mean, think about it. Think about how many people you went to high school with. How many of them actually got married?
To their high school sweetheart,
exactly.
Is what you're saying?
Yes.
I mean,
it's a very small number.
Okay.
That's my point. That's my point is when you are somebody who say, well, I came out of the hood, I made a gutter. It's like, yeah, but you are a very small percentage of those who did that. And I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm saying it's a very small percentage, and oftentimes I think that when you look at a person's background and you see what they came from and what they've had to come from, any position that they would be in life that is considered good or successful, we should applaud them for that. We should applaud them for that and not judge them or look at them in a negative light.
Absolutely. When you were speaking, I was just thinking about, and the only practical example I can give is just like our own marriage, our own walk towards marriage, walk in marriage, because ultimately, I feel like we come from different backgrounds, but it was definitely there are definitely
similarities
that, similarities, but there's things that we have to work through, that we still currently are working through and have to work through. And without the proper guidance, because let's be honest, there are so many things that are out in the world right now, the images out in the world right now, as far as the examples, it's very few and far between of positive influences. And even when there's positive influences, how many people really are willing to say, hey, I will hold your hand and walk you and your spouse through it?
Not very many,
Yeah, not very many. And so I think, for those who have hope that, there could be a different scenario for them, those who have the belief that their situation today is not going to be their situation a year from now. They see themselves being married. If the Lord has put on your heart to be married or, come out of a abusive relationship, you know what I'm saying? Like, or come out of an abusive household, home, and actually be able to obtain and maintain healthy friendships, whatever, with their family. I would just say, really just stay in prayer, stay in prayer and just have hope. Because if I'm honest, the time that I spent praying to the Lord, yes, I was hoping that I would have a spouse that I can really have a healthy relationship with, but I didn't know. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know when that would be.
How much work it would require.
I surely did not know how much work that would require. And now that we're here today, it's always easier to look back and say, oh man, we've been through so much, and we've came 3 years now into a marriage. Like the other day you said to me, wow, we actually, been kicking it since 2015. Like, man, time has flown. And I'm like, man, it's been
a decade.
It's been 5 years.
A half a decade.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, wow, just like that, Lord, you changed my life around just like that. And all I had to do was believe. All I had to do was believe. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but all I had to do was believe that you had something greater for me. And, whenever you hear people say like something greater, sometimes it can always be the material things, but it's like, no, like my heart is full from the relationships that he surrounded me around. And 5 years ago, I don't think I had many, if any, relationships that made me feel full. You know what I'm saying? And secure just with myself. Like, it's okay to just be yourself kind of thing. It's okay to have things to work through, but we're here holding your hand because we love you. Just to hear people who were strangers to me 5 years ago say to me, we love you. And they mean it. And when they say we love you and I call them crying, ready to like roll out and they're on the phone like, well, it's always your choice and we love you and we're here to walk you through it and we're here to talk you off the ledge. What an amazing thing. I'm glad that I was open to the Lord because, you can't get this far by yourself. And I think that's the part that is, putting people at a disadvantage.
Yeah. I was just thinking, oftentimes I hear people say, I'm self-made. And I mean, that's cool. That's fine and dandy. I was thinking to myself when people say that, I always think to myself, I actually take pride that I can say that God brought me where I am, because if God brought me where I am, I know he's able to keep me. But, if I'm self-made, I mean, ain't nobody to keep me. You know what I mean? Who gonna keep me? Me? I can't always keep me. Even now, I recognize that I can't always keep me. But because I didn't bring myself this far, God did. I also understand that even if I can't keep me, I understand the one who brought me this far is able to keep me. I believe, I'm paraphrasing it, now unto him who was able to keep us from falling and present us faultless before his glorious presence. And I think, the Lord is the one who's able to keep us from falling. He's also the one to be able to, also the one who's able to present us, faultless into his glorious presence.
Amen.
So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Always leave comments, reviews, other topics that you would like us to touch on. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and you can also ingest our podcast on Audio Mac, Facebook, videos, YouTube, and Instagram. Until next time, peace.